Hey, what's up, people? It's Zain. I'm sitting at the gym right now, so I'm a little bit sweaty, but I had to come on and make this video. So, we're gonna make it happen, I had to come on. Today, I just wanted to talk about what the difference between civil law and criminal law is, right? And a lot of people don't really understand this. Criminal law is when you're dealing with a government agency mostly, right? The government agency is always going to be the one bringing charges against you. And then you get a lawyer to defend you against the state entity. The state entity, again, that's the government, right? Whatever state entity or federal entity that brings charges against you. If it's a state entity, it's usually a prosecutor or an assistant prosecutor, which is the ADA, right? Assistant district attorney. If it's the federal government, it's the federal prosecutor or another federal agent that's bringing charges against you. But I want you to understand, when you're dealing with the criminal agency, it's always going to be the government bringing charges against you. And then you hire your own lawyer, which is called a criminal defense attorney. The criminal defense attorney represents you against the government proceeding, right? The state. Another term for the government entity bringing charges against you is the state. The state is prosecuting you because you've committed a crime, which is in violation of the laws of the state, right? So you hire a lawyer. If you can't afford a lawyer, you request a public defender. All right. Some states have, and the counties within the states either have public defender offices, or if they don't have public defenders, they'll give you a court-appointed lawyer, right? So that's the gist of criminal proceedings. The state or the federal government brings charges against you, right? You're dealing with the government. The government has decided to bring charges against you. They're going to prosecute you. All right, so that's the criminal proceeding. Again, you're dealing with the state. You hire a lawyer to defend you against the state, whatever crime you committed. If it's a misdemeanor, felony, whatever, right? And now, civil proceedings are a little bit different. In civil proceedings, you're not dealing with the government. You're dealing with another lawyer, right? A lawyer has filed a lawsuit against you. By the way, guys, in criminal proceedings, it's either a complaint or an indictment, right? If it's a misdemeanor, it's usually a complaint. The state's filed a complaint against you. If it's a felony, generally it's an indictment. The state has filed an indictment against you. They've gone to a grand jury, and the grand jury has indicted you, right? If it's a felony, mostly. Not all states have grand juries for felony proceedings, but usually a felony threshold is a little bit higher. But anyways, in a civil proceeding, a lawyer has filed a lawsuit against you, and you hire a lawyer to help you defend that lawsuit. Your lawyer may be able to even file a counterclaim or a counter lawsuit. A counterclaim is your lawyer filing suit against that lawyer that's filed suit against you. In a civil proceeding, guys, you have to have your own lawyer, or you can represent yourself. Note, guys, in civil proceedings, the state won't give you the government or state won't give you a lawyer because it's not a criminal proceeding. There is no, your liberty's not being deprived. You're not going to be sentenced to jail. The due process threshold is kind of low in civil proceedings. It's the preponderance of the evidence standard. Whereas in criminal proceedings, the state has to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. In civil proceedings, it's just preponderance of the evidence, right? And that's pretty much it, guys. You have to get your own lawyer. If you can't get a lawyer, what's going to happen is they're going to get a default judgment against you if you don't answer your lawsuit. And that judgment they can keep renewing and file it in the county of records to get your assets, get an inventory on your assets, and then they can force you to sell it or whatever on your assets, right? Based off that judgment. But I just want you to remember, in civil proceedings, guys, you have to get your own lawyer. The government's not going to give you one because you're not dealing with the government agency. You're not being deprived of your liberty. You're not going to go to jail, right? Usually you're not going to go to jail. Now, there are different kinds of civil proceedings where you could get some jail time. Those are like family law matters, not paying child support, and all of that. But generally, guys, when it's a civil proceeding, you have to get your own lawyer, okay? The government's not going to give you one. The threshold's a little bit lower. Again, it could be preponderance of evidence or clear and convincing, right? And criminal proceedings, it's always beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's the gist of the difference between criminal law and civil law. Criminal law, you're going to get a lawyer the state is bringing charges against you. In civil law, a lawyer has filed a lawsuit against you, just not the government lawyer, just any lawyer that's filed a lawsuit against you that's defending one party. They're the plaintiff, you're the defendant, because you're being sued. You get your own lawyer. Your lawyer can either answer that lawsuit or file a counterclaim, or try to get a dismissal. But usually in civil proceedings, everything is more independent, right? It's not always the state that's involved. Your lawyers are the ones that are involved. It's better to have good communication with lawyers, with your lawyer and stuff. So that's the gist of criminal law and civil law. Now, again, there's a lot of different types of civil law, but this is just the basis of civil law. Family law falls into civil law. Some immigration law falls into civil law. And just civil law is a very broad category, right? Like I said, administrative, immigration, personal injury, all of that is mostly civil law. Landlord-tenant matters, real estate matters, all of this is civil law, right? You're not being threatened to go to jail or nothing. It's usually money's involved. That's why they call it civil law. You want to resolve it civilly. All right? And then in criminal law, like I said, the threshold is different. It's a greater threshold. You will be afforded an attorney if you can't afford one. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to say. I am done. Peace.